Welcome to Impact the World, a podcast from West Park Baptist Church in Knoxville, Tennessee. This is where we discuss topics related to how we can all love God, love people, and impact the world. Here's your host, Tara Hayes.
I'm your host, Tara Hayes, and today I'm very happy to sit down with my dear friend and, as I like to call him, fearless leader, Pastor Sam. Hey, okay. Pastor Sam.
How are you doing, Tara?
I'm good.
It's great to be with you today. I look forward to these times. Thanks for the leadership on this podcast.
Well,
God's really using it. I hear so many testimonies about it.
I appreciate that.
I'm grateful to have a talk with you as my friend and enjoy some coffee together, right?
That's always an important part of this. Always an important part.
Right.
I appreciate that very much. I enjoy these times as well.
Okay.
Well, the reason I wanted to sit down with you today is because during the month of February that we have a ministry focus of global missions. And for those who might not know, you're not just up there on Sunday mornings.
Right.
You also lead a team of people that oversees the missions ministry.
Yes. Yeah. I'm very excited. The last year and a half or so I've been back in this role. You know, we've had staff members that have adjusted responsibilities to give oversight to various aspects of ministry. Gave me the opportunity. I didn't need much pushing to get back into more direct involvement with our global missions. I love it. And in a funny way, I feel like, I'm back where I started because you may remember, back when I first came here that, I was over missions.
And the youth, which would be you were my youth pastor for a hot minute.
Wasn't that something? Yeah, I was. We had a great youth group. Yeah. So some of the things we got into, we'll just let those go. Okay. But
your secret is safe with me.
But one thing I do remember, there were some real challenges that the church was in at that season, but global missions was in the DNA of this church. And, you've heard me say before that there's a unique thing about West Park is that before it was a church, it was just a small group of people gathering with the vision of having a church. They were a Bible study, about 8 or 9 adults. But before they actually, covenanted together as a church, they started supporting missionaries. So I thought about that. I said, now, wait a minute, you're not a church yet, but you're a missionary sending ministry. And so it worked out.
It's an interesting twist,
it's an interesting
isn't it?
thing. And I don't know if I've ever heard of a church doing that.
I don't think I have either.
Yeah. But so literally missions, global outreach is in the DNA of West Park, and it has continued that way over these many, many years. And it's a huge part of this ministry.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited. As you said, missions is a huge part of West Park.
Mm-hmm.
A week from now, we're going to start our missions conference, our global conference, which is always a big deal at West Park.
It is.
And we always look forward to that.
Yes. We have maintained having an entire week, Sunday to the next Sunday, set apart for global mission focus every year. A few churches do that anymore, but it is an incredible week. I hear how much people enjoy it, how much people that are newer to the church learn about global missions from it, what it means to our global partners who come to be with us, how it keeps us connected. But I love it because it always, as we are right here in Knoxville and gathering and worshiping and fellowship, it reminds us that we have a global mission to the ends of the earth, to all the people groups.
It doesn't just stop here in Knoxville.
Exactly. And so we have opportunities that way greater than ever. So next week, as we have our missions conference, the theme is open doors. And I'm so excited for us to talk about that in some specific ways of open door initiatives, but also what that means for us here locally.
Right.
And then how we as individual believers literally can open our doors to the nations that are right around us.
Right. So, if you had the chance to be in family gathering last week, you shared a little bit, just kind of the structure of
Yeah.
missions and what that looks like here at
Absolutely.
West Park. And it'd be great if you could give an overview of that again.
Thanks so much. I've been asked quite a bit about that over the years as people are interested in how we approach missions. And I mean it literally. We try to look at the New Testament as our guide. That seems to be a pretty wise thing to
Yeah.
do.
Good
But-
plan.
Yeah. But in the book of Acts, chapter 13, you read about this first multi-ethnic church where Jewish people and Gentile people were gathering to worship the Messiah. The Church of Antioch, it's the place where people were first called Christians. Well, we read in Acts 13 that it was from this body that the Holy Spirit speaking said, set aside Saul and Barnabas for the work to which I've called them. Saul being, of course, as we know, the Apostle Paul, and Barnabas for what I've called them to do. They were the first missionary team. And the Bible says this, the church came together, laid hands upon them, and then there's a very interesting word that Dr. Luke uses in writing the book of Acts. He says the church released them. So what we see here, the pattern, is that global missions is carried out by local churches as they send out people on mission. They pray for those missionaries. Those missionaries are then accountable to the local church because we're told later that Saul and Barnabas came back and reported to the church.
Right.
And the church was supporting their needs. So here's the pattern for New Testament missions. Local churches, as they're worshiping, the Holy Spirit's at work, and he's calling out people from those churches to go to the ends of the earth, and those local churches support them, send them out, and then those missionaries are accountable back to those churches. So that's the overview. It might be a little different for how some people have experienced missions in other churches. We're glad for anything that gets people to the mission field.
Right.
However, some people have just been in situations where the church takes an offering, sends it to some folks out there doing some good, but the church really doesn't know the missionaries. The missionaries don't know the people in the church. It's not really a partnership.
Right.
And so we want everybody to understand it's not mission agencies that send out missionaries. It's not mission boards that send out missionaries. The New Testament says it's local churches that send out missionaries.
Right.
And as we send them out, we support them, pray for them. They're our partners. They connect back with us.
We're in
and
relationship with them.
We're in relationship. We celebrate what God is doing. And so this is the pattern. We do have missions agencies that help us as we send out missionaries, handle the money, handle the resources and things to, oversight. But the accountability comes back to us and the responsibility. So that's a little different for some folks.
I'm really glad you brought that up because I think if you're new to West Park, that may be completely foreign to the way that you've seen missions, that we actually know who we're supporting, what they're doing, where they are. And so I think it's important to understand that's what we believe is the biblical model.
We really do find it there in the New Testament. And so missionaries are really kind of our global staff partners. We look at
I like
them.
that, yeah.
Global staff that have been sent out. And we get to partner with other churches in sending out these partners together, which is an exciting thing because there are churches here in Knoxville, for example, that we partner with in sending out missionaries. And it's a great thing for the churches to connect that way. But missionaries are members of churches,
Yes.
just like all of us are. And they need fellowship. They need prayer. They need support and accountability like we all do.
Yes.
And so we try to build that. We try to do that as a part of our overall budget. Maybe might be important. I think a lot of people know, but we take the first 10% of everything that we receive in our general offerings here at the church. We immediately set that aside for global ministries. And then people on top of that who have a personal sense of wanting to support one of our missionaries, they give free will offerings toward that. Some designate some offerings toward those folks. That's wonderful. But that allows us as a church, as we have grown, to increase our amount of global commitment, and allows also our members, as they are sensing being directed by the Lord, to join as partners.
Yeah.
So that's how we carry it out. It's we're so used to it, you and me, that we have to remember it's not always done that way everywhere.
No, it's not. I kind of forget that when people
Right.
tell me, their
Yes.
experience somewhere
Yeah.
else.
And I will say the one thing I want everybody listening to know, that though, yes, I am kind of giving oversight to our global ministries, what I am so blessed with now that did not exist back in the day is this incredible team that is a leadership team. People who are not joining a committee. This isn't a committee. It's not a mission committee. Okay.
That's right.
It's a team of people who feel like God has really gifted them and called them to be more involved in missions and helping in this. And so you're on that team with some other dear friends. So I'm really grateful for our global team that helps give this oversight.
Yeah. I enjoy being on that team a lot. It's for those of us who are on it, it is definitely a passion and a place to serve in the church, and just to build those relationships with our partners.
Absolutely.
And like you, I can echo, when we have partners that come to the conference, they're always very appreciative of the way that we partner with them on a relational level.
Absolutely. Last thing that we want are these champions who are going where the Lord's called them to feel like they are forgotten.
Right.
I mean, yes, in some ways, missionaries are hidden heroes, but they shouldn't be hidden from the local church. They should be known, and we try to do that in a variety of ways, as you know, not only through the conference, but praying for our missionary partners every week.
Right.
We have connected our groups here at West Park to be kind of care groups for missionaries. We have the prayer bulletin that comes out, updates. We hear regularly that the missionaries feel like they are part of this church, and that is the greatest thing that we can hear.
Yeah, it makes me really happy when I hear that, because we do. I mean, we view them that way.
We do.
So many people.
We really do.
So, well, that's a great overview of how we do missions.
Yes, right. And then, guided by the Spirit, there are different times of focus that come up over the years. And the Lord is able to help us, see an opportunity and kind of join Him in what He's doing. This conference, as you know, our theme is open doors.
Right.
Okay. And so what we're talking about is a couple of things there. First of all, there is a great open door with what is known as the Open Door Initiative, which is a ministry initiative down in the Caribbean. Leadership of that is with two of our own here, Gary and Marty. It is for churches in the Caribbean. The goal of helping them reach those increasing numbers of people, other types of religions who are moving to that area. The world's a very mobile population now. And so this is a great opportunity. And so we are looking forward to having one of those partners with us, Devin Linton, his wife, Patricia. They're from Jamaica, but they're leading one of those open door initiatives. And so we're looking forward to how can we, guided by the Lord, partner with Gary and Marty, who the Lord is leading in this, with national partners. And this is
Right.
where this is the sweet spot. When not only are we partnering with folks that are going from us, but actually become partners with people who are on the field.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, how do we know that missions has succeeded? It's not in sending missionaries. That's the first step. It's when the people who are reached on those fields actually see the call to missions and they become sending churches.
Right.
Now that's when multiplication happens.
Yes.
That truly is how it has to happen because, let's say we support someone in Albania, and we do, okay, David, who's over there. You could live 50 years in Albania and you still wouldn't be an Albanian.
Correct.
But once an Albanian is reached and trained and the call of the Lord, they have an effectiveness that is beyond what would be the capability of any missionary from another culture.
Yes.
And so that's really when we know that our goal is being accomplished, when we see national partners actually taking the ministry. It's like, we are partnered. I'm sorry, I get carried away here. Sorry.
No, you're excited. It's
Okay.
good.
So, several years ago, from Chile, our ministries in Chile with partners, there was a Chilean mission raised up called Adelphos. We support, the Fredes who are from there. They actually are able to go into countries that are closed.
Yes. That we will never step foot in.
Americans cannot get in there. Now, you and I were in a conversation a couple of weeks ago that it was like a hallelujah moment.
Yes.
In Cuba, and we will mention that, okay, in Cuba, there's an association of over 600 churches now, 600 churches. And those churches, not large churches, most of them house churches, but they are actually sending out missionaries now.
It's mind-blowing.
I'm telling you.
And exciting.
Right. So to think back, okay, 20 years ago, we started supporting this Chilean couple who had been reached with the gospel, and now they're reaching there.
Yep.
And those folks are sending out missionaries. This is where it gets really exciting.
Well, and it's kind of points to how missions has changed.
Right.
The face of missions.
Oh, yes.
It's much different now. I mean, you hear the
Absolutely.
old stories
Yeah.
of missionaries packing. I mean, I heard one story.
Right.
They packed everything they owned in their coffin and sent it to the mission field because they were never coming back.
Absolutely.
But it's so different now.
It is very different because, yes, the world is mushroomed in population, over 7 billion people now. But the world has never been a smaller place because of global communications and also mobility. People are able to go and move, not just missionaries to the fields, but also the people that live there. And so the whole face of how do you get the gospel out? It always has to, ultimately, it all comes down to relationships,
Yes.
ultimately. That's just the one another's of the Bible. But through communication now with the internet, global communications.
Well, and as you made the point on Sunday,
Right.
we all have these devices,
Absolutely.
AKA your cell phone,
Right.
and the availability in the
That's
world.
Right. Yes. Estimated that 97% of the world's population has access to some kind of communication tool that's global. It might be a cell phone, it might be a smartphone, it might be a laptop computer, a desktop computer, But think about it. They may not own it, but they have access. That's 97% of over 7 billion people. So there is an avenue for sharing the gospel that literally 20 years ago, 25 years ago did not exist.
Right.
And so you have to be adapting to that. Used to, if somebody was going to missions, they were either going to be their doctor or a nurse, or they were going to be a church planter or a teacher. Wonderful. But now, anything someone is doing, anything, and including people who have retired and they thought they weren't going to do anything,
Right.
Every skill is needed and can be used on the field. And you don't have to necessarily move for the rest of your life in order to be involved. So that's one of the things that Live Global is doing, which is another part of our conference. We're going to have Andrew Caudill, his wife Taylor. They're going to be here. And he is overseeing a ministry that helps people with abilities, skills to invest them in helping national partners be trained, be effective for ministry. And so there's all kinds of skills. And so when Andrew comes and talks about this global opportunity, I'm telling you, I can already see it. We're going to have that banquet on Sunday night. When he just kind of gives a global moment of what's happening in the world through technology in mission, your mouth just drops open.
It's pretty mind blowing.
Mm-hmm.
And it also makes me think missions is for a younger generation who can work the technology.
Well, yes. You have to
That's
know.
not necessarily how he works.
I don't think you have that big a limitation, but I know I do, So, but there's great opportunities. So Live Global will be here talking about open doors around the world. There's this open door initiative in the Caribbean, which we are really directly looking forward to being connected to that with teams going down. Al Cage has already gone down and done some teaching. We have others that are planning to go down. I think Audra just returned from a trip down in Honduras. So we're looking forward to getting those teams together to go.
And that was one thing I did want to say with as we get further and further past COVID, so to speak, we will be talking about taking more trips in the future.
Yes, and that is one thing. Yes, COVID kind of sabotaged some of that ease of transportation, but now the restrictions have been, for the most part, lifted.
Right.
And we want to send strategic teams. So, we're not just sending people on a missionary vacation. This is
photo opportunity trip.
This is not a photo op trip, where you actually pass out a few tracks and then stretch out on the beach or something like that.
Oh, no.
This is to really go and what can we do? We're coming with the basin and towel. How can we help you? And that's the kind of teams that we want to send. Yeah.
Well, it just further supports the idea of relationship.
Absolutely.
With these
Absolutely.
folks.
Yeah, we do. And then one other thing about the conference that we do want to highlight is the local opportunities for global missions. It is astounding, Tara. I mean, at times I have to go and check statistics to see if they're accurate. But just for example, as I shared Sunday night, in the greater Knoxville area, 44,000 people who are from another country now live here. They may be here as students. They may be here for seeking works. They may be in immigration. They may be already here and established as citizens, but their homeland is someplace else. Now you think about that. The greater Knoxville area probably has something over 500,000, I would say, 44,000 of those are internationals. And then as we've done our study on our Cedar Brook, which is our Jerusalem, we've just gone out 5-minute drive any direction from West Park. And we just kind of baptized that and called it Cedar Brook. Cedar Bluff,
Cedar Bluff and Middlebrook.
We really don't have something that makes us a neighborhood, so we just called Cedar Bluff and Middlebrook and called it Cedar Brook.
We gave it a name.
We gave it a name. That's our Jerusalem. But we have been able to identify 61 different nations that live within 5 minutes of 8833 Middlebrook Pike.
I'll be
61.
honest. I think most people are like, I don't know that I could name 61 nations.
I know. Yeah, I remember years ago when I heard that number, or it's greater now. I actually went down and talked to one of the principals at one of the Cedar Bluff schools. I said, I just got to know. And at that time, she informed me that the Cedar Bluff Elementary at that time had the most nations represented in their student body.
Wow.
24 different nations in the elementary school.
Wow. That's its own little mission field.
Absolutely. So what is our takeaway from that? Our takeaway is worldwide outreach is right here.
Yeah.
Just building relationships. That is it's not rocket science. It all comes down to opening our hearts and opening ourselves to friendships.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned our missionary David in Albania. And I asked him one time, I said, David, you've been here. You've done such an amazing thing. I said, what's the secret to this? I said, what's driven this? Because it's amazing. He said, well, it really comes down to this. He said, I meet people, I make friends, and I tell them about Jesus.
It makes it seem so simple, doesn't it?
I actually said, could you repeat that to me? He said, I meet people, I make friends with them, and I tell them about Jesus, and I just see what the Lord does. And that's it. He's the Lord of the harvest. We can't save anybody,
right?
But we can share the universal language, and that is love and concern, friendship.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking a little bit about opportunities we have through Knoxville International Network. It's a great partner of how our homes can be a part of just being hospitality centers for internationals, how our groups can adopt folks for ministry who want to build relationships.
Right.
They're asking for relationships. So
I was going to say, I had the chance
amazing.
to sit down with the Pitts and talk a little bit about that.
Isn't that something? Yeah.
And I would say local and global, either way you look at it, the foundation is relationships.
It's all about relationships.
And I think we overcomplicate it in our mind.
Yeah.
And it's what David said. I meet people, I make friends, and I tell them about Jesus.
And I have, over the years, as I've met people from different nations and even different religions, many, many times I've asked them, hey, tell me about your faith. And you know what? They'll tell me about their faith. And I'll listen. I'll say, that's very interesting. I had numbers of conversations. I said, could I tell you about my faith? And they'll say, sure. And then you tell them about Jesus. I don't take them through a particular plan. I just tell them about who Jesus is, what he's done for me. And the power is in the gospel. See, It's not my presentation. It's not learning certain verses. The power is in the good news, because there is no God but God the Father.
Right.
There is no Holy Spirit but the Spirit who lives within us, and there's no Savior for Jesus. So all the other gods are idols. They don't exist.
Right.
So think about it. We're talking about the real God. And I love what the apostles said when they were brought before the council to stop talking about Jesus. They said this, it's so amazing. They said, we are witnesses of these things, and so is the Holy Spirit.
That gives me
You see,
chills.
when we talk, the Holy Spirit's talking too, and he talks better than we do. And when we stop talking, he keeps talking.
Yes.
But that's the idea. We are witnesses of Jesus, what he means to us, and so is the Holy Spirit.
Right.
And that's who we're trusting to do the work.
Right. And I think that's important to think about and really focus on, because that relieves the pressure
Absolutely.
from what I'm doing or what you're doing. I'm
Right.
just following what the Lord wants me to do.
Absolutely.
I'm making a friend of that person. I'm sharing him.
Right.
All of it depends on what he is doing
Yes. Yes.
through me, but more importantly, what he is doing
Right.
with them.
Well, I've said this before, and I may have said it Sunday night, but I just keep saying the same things, and then sometimes it sticks. But
We need to hear him over and
this
over.
is what will transform any believer when they actually, truly understand and believe that they are on mission for Jesus and they are a missionary. There's no such thing as a Christian who's not a missionary.
Right.
And yet we have a tendency to say, well, that's what special Christians do. They get called to missions or they get called to the ministry. And of course, we believe that there is a call that happens for some people to go to a certain place. That's the reason we're having this conversation and having this conference. But the reality is all of us are missionaries where
Right.
we live, work, and play.
Yes.
And when you get up any day and think you're a missionary, you will never walk into Walmart the same way. You'll never walk into your office the same way. You will never go to a ball game the same way when you really believe I'm here to be friendly, nice, but I'm also a missionary is who I am.
Right. It changes your
It
perspective
changes
completely.
everything.
It really does.
And so I just pray that this coming week of emphasis will help us to see there are open doors around the world. There are open doors right here in Knoxville around us to reach out to the nations. But more than anything, the Lord will just open the door of our heart.
Right.
And that, we are the light of the world and we won't keep it under a bushel, or to change the example in a locked closet, but we'll open the door and let our light out, and just do that. And I think God wants the nations to come to him, and he wants West Park to be involved individually as members, locally as a congregation, and internationally as his people on mission with him.
Right. I can't think of anything more exciting than to come through the conference and just help our body of believers to truly understand.
Yes.
They're called just as much as someone who is in another country.
Absolutely.
Is called. And it is exciting what God's doing all over the world, and that's why we have this week because we believe it's important.
Yes.
But it's also important that we here are following what he has for us.
So I just encourage everybody who is, hearing the podcast, be here on that Sunday morning, the 26th, and just hear this great challenge. It'll be coming from our brother Linton from Jamaica. Wednesday night, we'll gather in the hub, and of course, Awana will have a special focus.
Yeah,
we'll
they have great plans.
Yes. We have a gathering in the hub where we'll be hearing even more specifically from the pits and what they're doing. The next Sunday morning, on March 5th, we have Andrew Caudill with Live Global, and he'll be telling us about what God's doing everywhere.
He always has
He's
great
amazing.
stories to
Then
share.
that night, we have the banquet, and people need to get signed up for that.
That's right. There's a registration.
That's right. And the banquet, we'll talk about what is happening locally, what we can do. So it's going to be great.
It is going to be
And
great.
of course, the men need to remember on Saturday morning, the 25th, the men's big breakfast.
Right.
Okay.
The men's been breakfast. We've got lots of exciting things going on, but I really appreciate you taking the time to just sit down and give an overview of missions at West Park, but also missions at large and what that looks like. And
Well,
how it's changing and how we're involved. And
thank you
that-
for giving me the opportunity and thinking through what this can mean. And so I'm really excited, never more excited in this area of ministry, global missions, locally and globally, for what God's got in store for us.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us today, and we hope to see you both Sundays at the Global Conference.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to Impact the World. To find out more about West Park Baptist Church in Knoxville, Tennessee, visit westparkbaptist.org.